So we have this geometry question which reads Q is the midpoint of a line segment PR. If PQ is equal to 7x and QR is equal to 10x minus 10, what is QR? So what we have here is this line segment is looked at in two parts based on the fact that Q is a midpoint. And what I went ahead and did is I drew a figure representing this particular information. So we can see right below the question, this line segment is cut up into two pieces, given the midpoint, and the two pieces are labeled for PQ and QR. So from this information given, we recognize then that we can say that PQ, rather the line segment portion of the entire line segment PR, is congruent to the line segment QR simply because Q is the midpoint. And we have to remember that the definition of a midpoint means a point that cuts a line segment into equal halves. So that is really the biggest key here to understand how we set up our problem. And so what we do is we say then, okay, because of this particular piece of information and the definition of that, we can set those two expressions equal to each other. So that's exactly what we do in our setup in order to solve for QR. So in order to find QR, we see here that x is a variable to look for. We got to find that unknown in order to figure out what QR actually is. So let's actually now do that here in this video. So we're just going to combine like terms. So we get here negative 3x equals negative 10. And then finally divide both sides by negative 3 to isolate x. And we get here 10 over 3. I'm just going to leave it as a fraction and notice that we can't really reduce it because they don't share any factors to reduce. And so there's x. So now we can find QR, but we're also going to do a bit of extra work here, which is always great in order to check and make sure that it makes sense. So we're going to plug in what we found for x, and we're going to plug it into both expressions just to be sure that this actually turns out to be what it's supposed to represent. So PQ, remember, is 7x. So we plug in x, or we plug in 10 over 3 where x is, and we get 70 over 3. That one was really quick to do and easy to do. So now to actually find the answer to the question, we're going to plug in x, or 10 over 3 where x is. So 10 times 10 over 3, or 10 thirds, minus 10. Okay, so now we're going to simplify this. So we get 100 over 3 minus 10. And to combine these two fractions, we need to make the denominators the same. So we're going to notice that pretty easy to do, right? When we have a whole number with 1 as the denominator, in this case, the denominator is going to be multiplied by whatever is the number in the other fraction, or in the other denominator. So we do that top and bottom. So I'm just doing kind of like a quick note on that part. But you could do that in your head, right? And so we can see that 10 turns into 30 over 3. So now we're able to combine like terms here more efficiently. And sure enough, we get 70 over 3. So the answer to the question, that is, what is QR, is 70 over 3. But so is PQ. Because again, going back to the really the opener for how we set up this problem, is that both pieces should be exactly equal to each other because Q is the midpoint. So that's how we're able to ultimately solve the problem, set up the problem to solve it and get our answer. So hopefully that helped, and definitely let us know if you have any other questions.